All right, welcome back, guys. Let's now continue with our implementation of this responsive navbar. Also, don't forget to subscribe because I release videos like this each and every week, so if you don't want to miss out, then make sure to smash the heck out of that subscribe button, and now let's go ahead and continue on. So, where we left off is we created our navigation.js component, which is managing our navbar and sidebar. So now let's start implementing the navbar and our sidebar. So first I'm going to go and start tackling this navbar. So I'm going to do some of my default boilerplate, like importing React. I'm going to have const navbar. And this is going to return some JSX. And then I'm also going to do a default export of this navbar. So there we are. And then let's also go open up that navigation again. So one thing that we're passing to this is that toggle sidebar function. So let's also make sure that this prop right here, we accept that. So I can either do props or I can destructure props, which is what I like to do. So I'm going to use the curly braces and put toggle sidebar in here to destructure this thing so I can call it directly inside of this component. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a nav element because this is a navigational type of component. So I want to wrap this all inside of nav. And then I'm going to have some styling to this. So I'm going to have a class name of navbar. And then these classes I'm going to create using Sass. So inside of this source, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a folder called Sass. And this is where I'm going to organize my different styling. So I'm going to have one folder, which I call abstracts. And then inside of, actually before I do the other ones, let me create some of the other folders I want. So I want one for managing base, and I also want one for managing components. So base is like overall application level stuff. Abstracts is sort of like mini things that you want. So for example, one thing that we're going to want inside of here is a couple mixins, which you're going to see what those are. And we're going to use those to manage responsiveness. And then this components is going to be styling for our different components. So in particular, I'm going to want styling for my navbar and for my sidebar. So that's what's going to be inside of this components. So I can actually go and create these. So I'm going to create one for the navbar styling. So I'm going to do an underscore navbar.scss. Now this underscore in front just means that this is a partial file. And why this is a partial file is because inside of this Sass folder, I'm going to have a main.scss where I import all of these partial files in this one file here. And with this kind of structure, it just makes managing your styling much easier. So then this is all you do. You do @import, and then in quotes, I would have components/navbar, just like this. And this way, I bring in this navbar file, or I guess partial file, inside of here. And notice the way that it's spelled right here. I don't have an underscore navbar or navbar.scss. It's just like this. This is how you would import that. Then I can save. And then this navbar.scss is where I can do my styling. So I can create my class of navbar, like so. And then inside of here, I can have my different styling. So let me go back to this navbar.js for now. And then I'm going to do the styling in a bit. So what I want right now is to have an unordered list. I'm just going to have a class name of navbar _list. So this right here is a convention called BEM, where you have the blocks, and then you have the elements, and you have modifiers. So for this right here, this is like the block, the overall block. And then this list is an element in the block. And then if you want modifiers, the convention is to have 2 dashes. So I can do something like color blue, something like that. So this would be a modifier to this thing. And then typically the way you would do that is you would have, let's say, navbar _list, and then your modifier. So you have both of these classes. So that is how this whole structuring with the BEM model works when you're doing your styling. So I'm going to create now my unordered list, and then inside of here I'm going to have different navigational items. So because I'm going to have navigational items, I'm going to import navlink, and this is coming from React Router DOM. And navlink is very handy. It's slightly different than just link. So you have link and you have navlink. What navlink does, if you're on the current page that the navlink is associated with, it's going to add a class of active to that navlink's class. And then what you can do is you can style that active class, which is something we're going to do. And then that way, whatever page you're on, you're going to have that navlink be styled a particular way. So right over here, I'm going to have a list item with the class name of navbar list item. So this is another element inside of this element here. And another thing you could do is even just navbar item, like so. I think I'll just have a deeper structure like this. Then inside of this list item, I'm going to have navlink. And then I'm going to have a class name of navbar _link, which is going to go to /. And then this one here is going to be for my home. So I'm going to have one of these items for each page that I have. So I'm going to copy this part here, paste it down below. This is going to be for my about, which is going to go to /about. And then the styling is going to be the exact same. I'm going to paste again. This one's going to be for, say, my services, which is going to go to /services. Then this way, when you click this, you're going to go to the services route, and then the services route. If I can find my app.js, this is going to load up the services component. So that's how these nav links work. You click them, they go to a specific route, and then we have our app handling what these routes load up. And then back inside of here, I can paste down again. So after services, I'll do, say, gallery. It's going to go to /gallery, and then we just have one more, and that's going to be for our contact. Just going to go to /contact. All right, so let's save this, and I'm going to run my front end. So I'm going to do an npm run start. This is going to start my front end, and then that's going to open up my browser. So right now we have some issues because we did not edit the index.js. So let me go ahead and do that. So index.js, and then I'll minimize this a little bit. So I'm going to remove this part here, and then I'm going to remove this part and this part, and just save that. And now that should correctly load up this app component for us. So back here, I'm going to do a refresh. And then the issue we're getting is inside of this navigation. So if we open up the navigation, right now this is returning our navbar and our sidebar. And then our sidebar, we didn't define anything yet. So let's put some boilerplate here so this doesn't break. So I'm going to import React from React. I'm going to do const sidebar. And I'm just going to return a div that says sidebar. And then I'm just going to do a default export. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. So now this should load up correctly. So here we are. We have our navbar, we have our sidebar, we have our home page, and then we can also navigate to the different pages. I can go to the about page. Now, one thing you're going to notice is when we go to the about page, we have this home component and this about component both loading with this route. So the reason for that is that this right here is correct because we contain a slash inside of /about, and then we also have /about inside /about, obviously, because they're equal. So what we have to do is here, we have to put this exact prop. That way this has to match exactly. It can't just contain slash. So if I save that now, what we're going to get instead is once we're on the about page, we're going to only show the about component instead of both the home and the about. And then I can navigate between all these different ones. So of course this looks very ugly right now, so let's add some styling to this. So I'm going to open up this navbar.scss, and now let's go ahead and add some styling to this. So I'm going to put a background color. So I can do that with background color, and then I'll set that to CCC. And this is the equivalent of having this written 6 times. This is just a shortcut for that. And it's just going to be a gray color. And then I'm going to have some padding. And then as for the padding, I want to use rem units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, inside of this base, I'm going to create an underscore base.scss. And then I'm going to add some global styling inside of here. So first thing I'm going to do is star, and then a comma, then star after, comma, star before. Then inside of here, I'm going to do margin 0, padding 0, and then box sizing inherit. So this right here is going to be for all elements, and then all these elements, they're going to have by default margin and padding of 0, and they're going to inherit the box sizing, which is going to be set to border box. So that's something I'm going to do with the body. So I'm going to have box sizing of border box. And this is just going to make it a lot easier for setting the exact dimensions for the different elements that we have. Because without the box sizing of border box, it's a little bit finicky with setting the width and heights of different elements. And then the way that the box sizing works is we have the width and the height of the element. Then you can add padding on top of that. You can add a border. You can add the margin. And then that's not going to mess with the actual width and height of the element itself. So it's just a much easier way to get the exact dimensions that you want. And then I'm also going to have HTML here, which I'm going to have a different default font size compared to what it normally is. And I'm going to set this to 62.5%. So by default, you're going to have 16 pixels and then 62.5%. This is going to make the default 10 pixels. And then we can even confirm that by opening up our calculator, doing 16 times 0.625, and then we get 10. So this is just to confirm that 62.5% of 16 is going to give you 10. So that way, when we use the rem unit, 1 rem is going to be 10 pixels. So that's just going to make a very convenient way of setting different sizes for elements. So with that, now I'm going to go back to my navbar. Actually, before I do that, before I forget, I just want to make sure I import this base as well. So inside of my main.scss, right at the top here, I'm gonna import base/base and save that. That way we have the base styling. Now back inside of here, what I can do is I can have my padding, and then I can do 2 rem. So that's going to be 2 times 10 now instead of 2 times 16 because of how we styled things right here. And then 2 times 10 is going to be 20. So we're going to have 20 pixels on the left, on the top and bottom. And then we're going to have 40 pixels on the left and the right. So we do that with 4 rem. So this is a very nice and convenient way of setting different sizing for the different properties. And then I'm going to have a height for this navbar, which is going to be 8 rem or 80 pixels. And then I'm also going to add a shadow to this. And I can do that with the box shadow property. So for the left and right, I'm just going to have a 0. And then for the top bottom property, I'm going to have 0.2 rem, which is going to go to the bottom 2 pixels. And then I'm going to have a blur, which I'm going to set to 0.4 rem. And then I'm going to have the color, which I'm going to use RGBA to set this color. So I'm going to put 000, which is black, and then the opacity, which I'll set to 0.4. So let's see how this looks now. So it's not applying. And the reason why it's not applying is because we actually have to bring in the styling. So I have to do import. And then I'm going to import sass/main.scss. And actually, I believe I have to do /. And then with that, we should now see the styling. So there it is. This is going to be our navbar. This is the height of it. We have that shadow. Now these elements here, we want them to be placed horizontally. So we have to fix up some of the styling for this as well. So let's go back to the code, open up our navbar. And then I'm going to style those list items. So doing this and _list, this right here is now going to be navbar _list that we're styling. So this is also why the BEM model with Sass is very convenient, because we don't have to below this make this class and then style it here. We can just use this and, which is going to add this on top of this right here, and then it's going to be the equivalent of doing something like this. So now for the list element, I'm going to do a display flex, and I'm going to do justify content, which is going to be space between. And then space between is just going to, instead of doing space around each item, it's going to do that except for the very left and very right item. For the very left item, it's not going to have spacing on the left. For the very right item, it won't have spacing on the left or on the right. Then I'm going to have align items as center. That way each item is going to be in the center of this navbar. And then I don't want to have that bullet point, so I'm going to do list style as none. And then I'm going to have a height of 100%. And then I'm going to have the padding, which is going to be 0 on the top and bottom, and then 4 rem or 40 pixels on the left and the right. So let's take a look at this. So now we have it organized like so. So now the next thing I want to tackle is the list items. So inside of here, I'm going to do that and _item. So now this is the equivalent of me going down here and doing dot navbar list item. Instead, I can just have it in here. It's going to be this exact same thing. So now for the items, I'm going to do display flex. I'm going to do justify content center, align item center, and then I'm going to set a font size. Now let's go ahead and see how that looks. So now each of these are a little bit bigger, the text, but I don't like the color. I don't like this underline, so let's fix that. So what I'm going to do is now right over here, style those links. So that's going to be navbar double underscore link that we're styling. So I'm going to do and double underscore link. So this is aligned the exact same way that this list is aligned. So we're going to have navbar double underscore list versus where we had this nested inside where it was navbar double underscore list double underscore item. This is how we're going to have it for the link. And then for the link, I'm going to set a color of 333, which is going to be a darker gray color. Then I'm going to have text decoration as none, so that we can get rid of that underline. And then I'm also going to have a hover property. So I'm going to do this and then colon hover, so that when we hover over these elements, I can set the color to be a lighter gray color. So I'll do 777. All right, so this looks much better now. So now when I hover over these, it's a lighter gray color. And we're really making some nice progress now with the look of our navbar. Now there's a couple more things that we need to add to this. So for one, I want to have navbar app right here, which is going to be a placeholder for where you normally put a logo. And then when I click that, I can navigate to my homepage. And then I also want to have a hamburger button on the right. So let's go ahead and start tackling that. So right before this list item here, I'm going to create that navbar app text, which is going to be our placeholder. And then that isn't going to be a nav link because I don't want it to have the active class. So instead what I want to do is I want to bring in link. And then this link is just not going to apply that active class if I'm on the home page. And then right above this list item, still inside of this unordered list, I'm going to create this link. It's going to have a class name, which I'm going to do navbar double underscore logo is what I'm going to use for styling this. And then it's going to have the text of navbar app. And then I also want to have the to property, which is going to go to the home page when we click it. So now we're going to have this present here. And now let's style it so it looks a little nicer. So inside of here, I'll have my and double underscore logo so I can style this thing. And then for this, I'm going to have a font size of 2.8 rem, which is going to be 28 pixels because 1 rem unit again is 10 pixels. I'm going to have a color. It's going to be a dark gray color. It's going to be the exact same color as these links, except the color is not going to change when we hover over it and such. Then I'm going to have text decoration as none, so I can get rid of that underline. I'm going to have a font weight, which I'm going to set it to be a bold font weight. And I'm going to have a font style, which I'm going to set to italic. All right, so let's take a look at that. There we go, looks a lot nicer. Now we also get this whole hand icon when we hover over this. And then if I'm on my about page, I click this, I'll go to my home page. So this now works appropriately. All right, so we've made some pretty good progress now with our navbar. It's looking pretty nice. Now we still have some additional things to do. We still need the responsiveness. We still need that sidebar. So we got some more work ahead of us, but this video is getting a little long, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a pause here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't yet, please hit that like button. It goes a long way to help a channel like mine grow and get recognized so that others can benefit from the videos I release as well. Also, I have links in the description that you can check out. I have one for an e-commerce course that you can check out if you're interested in learning to develop an application like that. I also have a link for joining my Web Development Kings Facebook group. That way, if you want to ask me something personally, then you can go ahead and do that, and I will happily help you out. It doesn't cost you anything, so if you're scratching your head about something, then just go right ahead. Ask me a question and I will help you out. Only questions I probably won't answer are if you want me to help you build some kind of personal project, as I don't quite have the time for that sort of thing. You can also post something in the group, and then that way other developers in the group can help you out with something as well. The group is all about growing your expertise as a developer, so if you're interested in that, then go ahead and click that link in the description and join the family. Also, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notification bells. That way you don't miss out when I release a new video, and I will see you in the next one.